Good morning, Kate here, bringing you this week's Monday Mission. And this one is all about relationships. So, relationships with our spouse or our partner, relationships with our kids, family, friends, coworkers. What we're going to talk about today can apply to any relationship that you have in your life. So, the focus of today's topic and video is going to be about something called the manual. So, I'll explain what that is. And then your mission for today is going to be figuring out what your own manual is and making sure that you communicate that with the people in your life. Okay, so what is the manual? We all have them. And the manual is sort of this unwritten rule book of how people are supposed to act, behave, how they're supposed to interact with us and treat us, and how they're supposed to show up in the world, right? So we have, if you think of a manual, let's say with your printer, so it has all these instructions of things that are supposed to be done in order for the printer to work perfectly, right? The problem is that we usually don't communicate this manual to the people in our life. They don't even know it exists. And what we do is we tie all of this meaning and emotion to when they don't follow the manual, right? And this can lead to all kinds of issues and problems in the relationship. So let me give you an example. Let's say that in your manual, which is unwritten and not shown to anyone, in your manual, you should be complimented when you wear something new. So when you have a new dress or a new top and you come downstairs and your husband doesn't compliment you, doesn't even say anything, doesn't even look at you, he didn't follow the instruction in the manual, right? So in your manual, if I'm attractive, if I'm pretty enough, if I'm thin enough, if I'm this, my husband will compliment me when I'm wearing something new. He didn't compliment me, so I'm going to attach all this meaning and emotion to it. He's not attracted to me. I've gained weight. He thinks I'm disgusting. He doesn't love me anymore. He can't even look at me. We go into all these things and we react to that. So we either give the silent treatment or we withdraw or we get angry about something later and lash out and it's not even connected and they have no idea, where it's coming from. So you can see that sort of unwritten expectation when it wasn't met by someone else. We attach all this meaning to it and then we have the feelings that result from that thinking. Those feelings create our behaviors, and that behavior is, again, withdrawing or being passive aggressive or whatever it is we do when we have those certain feelings, right? So you can see that cycle and how it goes. Let's say kids. Let's give an example with kids. So I'll give you one from mine. My youngest is not the best eater, so he doesn't eat a wide variety of food. Doesn't like to try new things. He's just always been that way. And I remember when he was really young, I had this issue with him. So my manual, and again, our manuals are developed from our upbringing, our programming from society, all of the messages that were sent. So my manual said that if you do A, B, and C, okay, for a picky eater, so you cut it into cute little shapes, you include them in the process, you help them cook whatever it is you want them to try, you put it in little muffin tins, you pair it with something that they do like, all of these things. So in my manual it said if I do A, B, and C and my kid eats the food, tries the new food, I'm a good mom, right? So I meshed those two and one means the other. Well, I did all of those things and he didn't eat the food because he was 3 or 4 and he's a kid and he can do what he wants and he didn't eat the food. But I attached the meaning of, he didn't follow that unwritten rule in the manual, so I'm a bad mom. And all that emotion waved over me and I found myself trying to force feed him. I don't even remember what the food was, but I remember trying to seriously open his mouth with the spoon so that he would eat this food. And I mean, mid shove, I was like, what are you doing? And I realized the ridiculousness of it and I stopped. But you can see when we attach so much meaning to whatever it is we have in this manual, how it can affect our feelings, which then affects our behavior. So that's an example with kids. Let's say you have a friend that doesn't text you back or doesn't call you back, maybe forgets, to reach out, doesn't check in, right? And you have it in your manual that a good friend will check in on you, will get back, will text you back, will call you back. And you attach meaning to that. So if you have a friend that doesn't do those things, then that means that they're mad at you, or it means that you're not a good friend. You're not being a good enough friend to them. Or, all these things come up. You attach all this meaning instead of just either recognizing that maybe she's busy and you always know that she eventually gets back to you, or communicating to her and saying, hey, you haven't responded to some things lately. Is something going on? Is there something I can support you with? What's going on? Because I really appreciate it when you're able to get back to me. And we avoid those conversations, right? Because they're awkward. We don't want to make the other person feel like they didn't do something or make them uncomfortable. And so we sort of avoid those conversations rather than just communicating all of that and getting it out in the open and being able to come up with a solution and move forward with it. So that's, an example that you might see with your friend. Another way to think about it, so let's say, get my little board out. So let's say that you're constantly feeling unappreciated with what you're doing around the house and things that you're getting done, right? So you have in your manual that because you got all the laundry done and you cleaned all the bathrooms and you had dinner on the table for everyone, that they should your family should just go, oh my gosh, Mom, you're just the best. Look at everything that you do. You are just amazing. And what would we do without you? And, you feel like in your manual that that's how they should act and respond when you do all of those things, right? By doing that, you have set yourself up to feel worthless and unappreciated when they don't do that thing that you have in the manual, right? So you feel unappreciated because they didn't follow your manual. Meanwhile, they may not even know that your manual exists. They didn't follow the manual, so you feel unappreciated. You act out in anger or resentment, right? After you do that, after you express the anger, you feel guilty for sort of losing it, right? And then you overcompensate to get rid of the guilt that you feel because you acted out. And this never gets resolved, right? Because we're just back to where we were, okay? Because it was never communicated to them that you would appreciate if they would comment and that that's in your manual and you would really like them to follow that and provide that to you, right? So you can just continue this cycle over and over again. So the difficulty with these manuals is that we think that if they would just follow the manual, then everything would be amazing. We would be worthy, we would be loved, we would be happy, okay? And what we're doing is we're putting all of those things into their power. We are giving them the power to make us feel happy and appreciated. And when things are going great and they're following the manual, it's awesome and it feels incredible. But when inevitably they don't follow something in the manual, then that's when all of this can come up for you, right? So it's important to understand that no one else is responsible for your happiness. No one else can make you happy, okay? It is up to you and understanding your thoughts and how your thoughts create your feelings. So you can change those thoughts to feel appreciated, to feel happy, but it is no one else's responsibility to do that for you. And your worth is not tied to anything that anyone else does. You are worthy simply because you are you, okay? So recognizing this is huge, and it's the first step. And it's going to take you a while to even understand what's coming up in your manual and what is in there, right? But then you also want to think about other people's manuals, all right? So they also have manuals for how you should act and how you should be interacting with them and what you should be doing and saying to them. So, trying to start understanding that is only going to help your relationship with that person if you can both begin to understand each other's manual, okay? So the one way to do this is to take the 5 love languages quiz. Okay, so I'm sure most of you have probably heard of the 5 love languages, and they have ones for kids, and there's a book for just specifically for men, and but bottom line, it comes down to, they boiled it down to there are 5 different love languages that we all either have 1 to 2 that are prioritized. So that's how we feel loved, and that's how we express love, okay? And there, you just type in 5lovelanguages.com. There is a free quiz that you can take to figure out what your maybe top 2 love languages are. And maybe have your spouse do it or have your kids do it. But that's one way to start really understanding what's in your own manual, right? So my first love language would be words of affirmation. Okay, so they're words of affirmation, acts of service, gifts, physical touch, and quality time. And all the questions that they ask you are based on one of those areas, and depending on how you respond and answer, it gives you, your top 1 or 2 love language. So mine is words of affirmation, all right? So Pete is just not a word man, right? So that is not necessarily his way of expressing love. One of his ways of expressing love is acts of service. So he does all kinds of things around the house for me. He would drop anything to run an errand for me, or just take something off of my plate for me. And that's his way of expressing love. But if I had it in my manual that he needs to write me love notes, and he needs to say these amazing poetic things to me all the time, and and he doesn't do those things, and I attach the meaning to that he doesn't love me, he doesn't, think the world of me, whatever, you can see how that can impact our relationship. But he and I have had this conversation, and I know that that's just not in him, that's just not his way. So it's really important to understand what is in your manual, but then it's also, you want to understand that that's not a steadfast thing, where this is something that I appreciate and I have in my manual, but if someone doesn't do it, then they're not right for me, or they don't love me, or whatever it is. Don't be so black and white about it, but it's a way to open up that conversation to understand what is in your manual, what is in the person that you're in a relationship with, what is in their manual, and how you can communicate that to each other the best way. And you can do it with your kids too. So your mission is to take the 5 love languages quiz, and even if you've done it in the past, take it again and just see if something has changed, or something is different. Mine have actually changed over the years, so it would be important to just take that again and see what comes up, and then understanding that it's up to you to fulfill those feelings for you of happiness, of appreciation, of worth. We cannot put that into anyone else's hands. So absolutely, in a relationship, we can make requests of people. We can share with them what we like, what we don't like, what makes us feel a certain way. But at the end of the day, it is up to them whether they choose to do them or not. And we really have to figure out what meaning we're attaching to that, because that meaning is what is possibly causing the feelings and then our behaviors and then the whole cycle that we talked about. All right, so that's your mission should you choose to accept it. Find out your love languages, and then really just start taking a look at what your own manual is and how you can communicate that to your loved ones and the people that you're in a relationship with, okay? As always, share with me what comes up for you, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.